if people want to call me liberal, I guess that's okay. It's only from their perspective. If they really knew the perennial tradition, and let me chart that, pre-Christian religion, which is already founded in the Bible itself, Judaism, the intertestamental period, the New Testament, the early fathers and mothers of the church, the first 5 centuries, which we call the patristic period, the saints and mystics throughout the 2,000 years. That's the perennial tradition. What you got to do is connect the dots. Now, that's the way I was educated, by the Franciscans in historical theology. Now, once you know that, I promise you this is true. Right hand. I'm not liberal. I'm extremely traditional. But most conservatives are not traditional at all. They just call 1940 Alabama tradition. I'm not trying to put down Alabama. Pick any other state. But this won't work anymore. That the way you were raised in the 1950s in California is the whole tradition. The word Catholic was already taken by St. Ignatius of Antioch in the year 108. As he traveled across Asia Minor to be killed in Rome, he went to village after village. 108, Jesus has only been dead 70 years. And he finds every little village is already calling itself followers of Jesus, because they found their dignity. They weren't trying to go to heaven. They found their dignity in this world. And he said, this is going to be a Catholic religion. The word in Greek meaning universal. And that's why that's still in the creed. I believe in the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. But we haven't had the one holy undivided church since 1054. In 1054, the West excommunicated the East. The Bishop of Rome excommunicated the Patriarch of Constantinople. He returned the compliment. And we stopped studying one another. So when you good Protestant brothers and sisters came along and reformed us, and we needed it, believe me. I'd be the first to admit that. But one of the reasons we were so corrupt is we had lost the contemplative, universal theology of the Eastern Church. So, unfortunately, I don't mean this in a demeaning or dismissive way, but, Protestantism is trying to reform one half of the piece of the pie, which you could say makes it start with 1/4 of the piece of the pie. And they live inside of that little, arena, think it's the whole arena, and it isn't. So just do your homework, recognize that most of the contemplative teaching and the belief in God, the social notion of salvation, God was saving history, God was saving humanity, God was saving reality, not just a few individuals. That's all in the Eastern Church. And that wasn't even a beginning point for most Protestants. It was, by the time you get to Luther and Calvin, God bless them, they're doing the best they can. But we've got a rather negative anthropology. Poor Luther speaks of human nature being a pile of manure. He really does. When you start with a negative anthropology, that we're a pile of manure, covered with the snow that is Christ, it doesn't work. You can have all the positive theology you want in the world, but when you're told, forgive me, you're full of shit, and that takes the form in Calvin of a doctrine of total depravity. I'm not making this up. Read your sources. Total depravity. So what we're doing in the universal Christ is basing our theology where we should have based it all the time in Genesis 1, not Genesis 3. Genesis 3 starts with the problem. I challenge you to go back and read Genesis 1. It was good, it was good, it was good, it was good, it was good. 5 times. I just checked it again yesterday, so I wouldn't misquote myself. Then after saying it was good, it was good, it was good, it was good, it was good 5 times, it adds a 6th. It was very good. How did we lose such a visionary, optimistic alpha point? How you begin is where you're going to end, really, and how you unfold. And for some pernicious reason, I think human beings like to solve problems. And we like to see ourselves, and even Jesus, as a mere problem solver instead of a vision creator. What I'm talking about is the eternal Christ as a vision creator, not a problem solver. But we got obsessed with someone eating an apple between the Tigris and Euphrates River somewhere 4,000 years ago, and let the whole storyline of the cosmos, which had already existed 13.6 billion years, now depend upon an apple. I know I'm making a caricature, but I've got to do it because this is silly. This won't work. And you young millennials are having the honesty to see that this isn't big enough. We have to have a God who's at least as big as the universe. And now the Hubble telescope tells us not only is the universe still expanding, and it has been expanding for 13.6 billion years from some beginning point, which I would call the touch of God. There's no difference between evolution and creationism. That was dualistic thinking that created that problem. So we had meaning, beauty, goodness from the beginning. And yet we took our eyes off of that and obsessed about Adam and Eve and created a word that wasn't even in the Bible. And we Catholics did that, original sin. And circled the whole agenda around how do we get rid of this original sin that was passed on, which only reminded human beings of what they already tend to believe too much, that I'm no good. I mean, do you know a single human being that doesn't think they're unworthy, even if they're trying to cover it up, even if they're trying to brag and get a lot of press? You always know it's overcompensation for a negative self-image. And here we were given a positive, totally positive self-image from the beginning. Genesis 1:26, let us create in the image and in our own image and likeness. My God, that's good stuff. That everything our eyes have ever seen is created in the image and likeness of God. We now live in a universe where the problem is solved at the beginning. In fact, so much so there is no problem. Now we still have to account for human perversity and human evil. And I don't want to be naive about that. But we became so obsessed with accounting for evil that we dismissed the original goodness. So in the book, I'm not sure, do I call it original blessing? Or I think I call it original goodness. You can call it whatever you want, but it better be positive. Yeah, original goodness, chapter 4. It really is perverse that we chose not to see that.